5% in real terms, vastly exceeding anything we see in the developed world.
All right, Steve, stay with me. I want to bring in another guest at this point, author and pastor Scot Anderson. I want to bring him into the conversation. His books include Think Like a Billionaire, Become a Billionaire, Millionaire Habits in 21 Days. And get this, God wants you rich and successful, not poor and struggling. Scot joins us now from Mesa, Arizona. God wants you rich. Are you serious?
I do. I believe that. I think that if the Christians could get some of the wealth in their hands, there's a lot of good that we could do in the world with it. And when we're poor and struggling, we can't be a light. There's nothing that we can do. We just got to beg and borrow a little bit of money to send some Bibles over to Africa and India. It'd be a lot easier if we had so much wealth where we say, all right, how much you need? You need $1 million? I'll write you a check for that.
And you're making a very good point. You're making a very good point, because as we look at Bill Gates dropping off the #1 spot, we do know that his mega philanthropy, some $35 billion, Steve, to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is actually the reason that he isn't the Forbes #1 richest man. We've written on the blog tonight, on the show's site, should the mega rich give more to charity? Both of you, I want your thoughts. Steve?
Well, certainly in the United States, it's been the tradition going back to Andrew Carnegie, who was an extremely wealthy man over 100 years ago, said a wealthy person should die poor, giving all of the money away. Bill Gates has made it very clear that most of his fortune's going to this foundation and perhaps other endeavors. Warren Buffett, who's number 3 on the list, has also given away substantial sums, and he's giving it to the Gates Foundation because he's impressed with what Bill Gates and his wife Melinda are doing and will be doing.
Apparently they're great bridge partners as well, so they do know each other, Bill and Warren.
Yeah, don't bet against them at the table. You'll be contributing to their wealth.
Scot, your thoughts? Should the mega rich give more to charity at this point?
Oh, I do. I think that it's almost a responsibility that they have. They don't have to, but I believe that, I believe that we're created to be blessed, to be a blessing. And any opportunity that you have to give, it always feels better to give than it does to receive. And I think a lot of the wealthy people, they struggle with stress, fear, anxiety, and those things because they do this with their money. They try to hold on to it. I think that you should have the attitude of trying to give it. And it's very hard to give it all away, as Bill Gates is finding out.
Scot, I know that you started off with about 250 grand. I know that you're working your way to becoming a billionaire. You've talked to a lot of millionaires on the way to find out just what their secret is to their success. Carlos Slim, let me put this to you, has been referred to by some, perhaps even many, as a ruthless monopolist. What is your experience of the mega rich?
My experience, at least the ones that
Go on, Scot.
ahead.
I'll come to you, Steve.
My experience is, at least the ones that have been in my world that I've interviewed and sat down and been mentored by, is I think that you can become wealthy with character and integrity. I think you can do it the right way. I don't think that you have to be ruthless. I don't know, other millionaires and billionaires, but I think that if you do it God's way, whether you're Christian or not, with character and integrity, I think that you definitely can get there, and I think you can get there faster.
All right. Steve?
Well, what you find, especially with entrepreneurs in free markets, is the only way you succeed is providing products and services that other people want. Unless you have the government behind you, if you don't offer something that somebody wants, you don't succeed.
Doesn't mean you have to be ruthless,
that's the virtue of free markets.
You're not suggesting people have to be ruthless.
Well, it depends what you've defined ruthless. If it means determination and drive, that's how you apply the energy to get things done. And so, again, you don't succeed unless you provide something that somebody wants. That's why Steve Jobs is on the list. He's come up with numerous innovations over the year. Now, apparently, a new one called the iPad.
Yawning gap between rich and poor. Do you see that widening rather than narrowing? Very briefly.
I see that once we get this world economy back on track, which is beginning to happen, you're going to see the middle class start to grow again all around the world, just as happened since the early 1980s, and particularly since the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. So don't worry about the rich. The key thing is, do people have opportunity, as Lincoln put it, to improve their lot in life? I think the answer is yes, and will be yes again.
The best of both of you. Are going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Steve Forbes and Scot Anderson out of Mesa.